Question from YouTube from Toxican. He said, "Is the meaning?" They said, "Is the meaning of artificial life the same as organic life?" And I don't know. What do y'all think? Personally, let's talk about the meaning of life in general. This is kind of an interesting question because I can come at it from several angles. I'm going to actually interpret the question a little bit. When I first read it, I thought I could drop the meaning from the question and I could just say, "Is artificial life the same as organic life?" And the answer is no. They're not. They're not, right? But I think, and you correct me if you're wrong, Toxic, if you're still there. Is the meaning of artificial life the same as organic? And that's kind of a Ridley Scott sort of question. The kind of thing that you'd hear covered in originally in Aliens, I would say, and then in many other ways. And that's not just a question about artificial life, but what is artificial life in general. It's about the meaning or the purpose of life, says Toxic. It's about, what is the meaning of life? And this gets into the whole, this is a question, I know it's a question that's been asked a lot of times. It might seem a little bit cliche to even ask the question, but it's super fucking important. Sorry, I swore. It's super important to people at, a fundamental level. It's like, when does it become? So I was actually listening to Wozniak the other day, Steve Wozniak, inventor of the Mac and Apple, stuff. And he was in an interview with, I want to say a Danish reporter. And if you ever go, you can go look up the video yourself. Maybe I'll link it. And he was talking about the meaning of life and artificial life and intelligence in general. And something I actually was actually writing about artificial life, and the difference between artificial life and artificial intelligence. What is it? And that's kind of a related question. Well, what is artificial life, right? So, what is artificial life? Is there such a thing, right? How does it relate to artificial intelligence? How does it relate to artificial intelligence? And what is that? So maybe it's going to dovetail into a conversation about AI and what that is. Maybe not. Let's go see. I've got another comment. If a computer or robot could function the same as a person, would the meaning of its life be different? I'm going to write that in here. So if a computer robot could function the same as a person, would the meaning of its life be different? There are some really great the sci-fis on Netflix about this. God, I forget the name of the one. There's one where I can't even talk about it. I'll just blow it away. There's just so many different pieces of the thing. So if a computer robot could function the same as a person, what would the meaning of its life be any different? And this if you've watched any Star Trek, and I don't Toxicant if you have, if you watched any Star Trek, the entire Star Trek Generations, and the whole Star Trek spot. If you're a boomer, I'm not, but I'm Gen X. But the boomers, had Star Trek, and they talked about the nature of life and emotion and all that stuff through the Vulcan eyes, but they didn't tackle the AI thing. And then along comes Generations, and there was a whole term. It was, iRobot was a thing way back in the 70s, but it took before this question became sort of mainstream. It took getting put into a prime time, sci-fi like Star Trek Generations, where you had Data. And if you don't know Data, in fact, we should probably put some clips of Data in here. Does anybody have a clip of Data that we can put in our? Somebody find me a YouTube clip of Data from, and I will put it into our clips really quick so I can show who Data is. And so Data is this sentient, according to the definition in the movie or the series. He's sentient. He's a sentient AI. He's a sentient, and it's almost always created in the image of humans, kind of thing. Whenever somebody really wants to tackle the topic of artificial life, Ridley Scott, who made Aliens, did this with the whatever you want to call it, the android gone wrong. He then later, very recently actually, tackled it again with this super horribly bad movie with the guy who plays Obi-Wan, what's his name? Ian McGregor, called Zoe. And it's also got the girl who's the love interest of the protagonist in Midnight in Paris at the very end. I can't remember her name, but she's really amazing. And but so it tackles this whole idea of artificial life. Let me just say, if you really, really, really want, I mean, as bad as the Zoe movie is, I mean, it's bad on so many different levels. It does tackle that question again. What is artificial life? What if you had a computer? In fact, they actually do that exact thing. They explore a scenario where this company has gotten so good with machine learning, it can predict perfect soulmate matches between two people, and they go in and it's become so powerful. It's kind of impacted society because people will go in and they'll sit in there and they'll listen up to see whether they'll do the test, and they're all nervous, and they'll see what their compatibility is, and then they'll sit as if they're waiting to have a child to see whether they're going to get married or they belong with each other. It's got kind of a oh God, what was it? What was that? What's his name? Ethan Hawke movie about the genetics. God, what was it called? It's one of my favorite movies of all time. Anyway, same sort of vibe. They're sitting here waiting. Should we be together or not? And you got a rating of 68%. Yay! We can be together. We have a decent shot at staying together forever. Gattaca, thank you for that. And so, and yeah, the Borg, the whole, Data's daughter episodes are mind blowing. Yeah, those kind of things. I mean, so thank you for saying that, Born Again Shell. So, Borg, Data's daughter, there's like so many episodes in Generations. A lot of people think Generations is their favorite. I don't tell anybody. I like Voyager the best. Voyager's my favorite, and not because of the hot Borg chick. She's kind of annoying, actually. So they deal with artificial life and not just artificial intelligence. And from what I saw of the Picard series, which apparently is really horrible, they kept exploring that idea of artificial life. But so there's lots of ways that they approach it. But what does it actually mean? When does it become real? To answer that question, you actually have to answer the question, what is life? And that is a big freaking question. That's a big. Oh my God, yes, Battlestar Galactica, of course. Oh God, yes. Movies that explore. I'm gonna put movies that explore this. Movies that or whatever. Films and series that explore. About you know what? I'm gonna go watch all 8 seasons again. I put my wife for that shit. Films and series that deal with this. So I'm just going to name them off. So Zoe, the Aliens, very briefly, I actually, believe it or not, I think, what was it, the Disney, the DreamWorks with the robot that cleans up, like, that is a great movie. I love it. It's a kid movie. God, why can't I'm spacing on it. I can't remember. So Gattaca is kind of, Gattaca is kind of different, but I really love it. It's not really that, but it's kind of good. Battlestar Galactica, Battlestar Galactica is so amazing. Yeah. It's just, I just cannot stand it. Battlestar Galactica, I think, might actually be, with Joaquin Phoenix. Yeah, that was a different one. WALL-E. You can laugh at WALL-E all the time. WALL-E is one of my favorite movies produced by DreamWorks or Disney. I love it, and it's not just because of the subject matter. I love it because it explores what it means to. I mean, yes, they always anthropomorphize everything, and every Disney movie is anthropomorphizing everything all the time. But in this particular case, they're exploring what it means to love something, and if you can't understand life unless you understand love, you have to understand what that is. I mean, if whatever this thing that do you have to have emotion to have life? This gets really deep, really fast. WALL-E. Yeah, I spelled it wrong. Thanks, Toxic. So, but I think that these are things that we do need to explore because, Zoe is actually really good at exploring in a very, didn't get your head knocked off like in Ridley Scott's Aliens, way, where something, the creatures are becoming aware the creatures, the artificial intelligence. There's I forgot. I just remembered another one. AI. I don't like AI. AI is disturbing, but AI is really important because it's right dead center in this question. What happens is the whole question of love and life. Here's a thing that doesn't know whether it's real or not. And then there's the other one, of course. God, how could I ever forget? What am I going to say? Probably one of the most important movies ever made by artificial life, about artificial life, ever. One of those groundbreaking movies of all time in the 80s. I'll give you a hint. It had Harrison Ford in it. Anybody know it? Blade Runner. Yeah. I was waiting for it. Blade Runner is definitely, I mean, they've had how many different versions of that show and the ending have they had now? They've had so many different endings on that movie now because they're still trying to establish whether the person is artificial or not. He can't even tell whether he's artificial. And it's like the nature of existence, what is life? What is the nature of existence? And that this there's no easy answer here. What do I think? I don't know. I think I honestly don't know. So why can't I spell tonight? Why can't I spell existence tonight? I am like having such. All right, I'll sound it out. Sound it out, just like you learned in kindergarten. Exist. Oh, yeah, I tried to do it too fast. Ants versus ants, my nemesis of all time. In a nutshell, is a mouse race. Ghost in a Shell. Oh, yes. Thank you. He's correcting. Alter Carbon. Oh my God, I love that show. The first season. Oh, I'm so glad you brought that one up. I love that. Oh, it's just organic damage. Oh God. Don't you just love that show? Oh, we got to get quotes from all these shows. So this is my answer to this video is to give you a list of a bunch of things that deal with the topic rather than answer the question, because I don't know. I don't think anybody knows. iRobot. Yeah. I mean, come on. iRobot. It's been around forever. I read that. It was a Heinlein book, right? Isn't iRobot Heinlein? I mean, I read that a long time ago. Arthur Carbon. You're a tyrophobic. Couldn't watch Arthur Carbon. Oh my God. What is that? What is a tyrophobic? What is a trypophobic? First time I've ever heard that word. I'm being schooled here. Tryphobic. I had somebody from the chat say. So tryphobia is an aversion to the sight of irregular patterns of clusters of small holes or bumps. It is not officially recognized as a mental disorder. Often responds to the nervous system. So there's a fear cluster of small holes, bumps, and patterns. When people see this type of cluster, yeah, there's a lot of that. Yeah, you need to look at the images to see it. Is this kind of like, is it because of all the pixelation and stuff that they do when they're projecting like 3D and stuff? That's interesting. We got to do a whole video just on that. Yeah, I could see that. Cellular doesn't make anything that supports super heavy monitors. The monitor I'm looking to get. Oh, you're talking about something else, right? Monitor arms. Yeah, we can talk about monitor arms later. But so my answer to this, I don't know, Toxic Can. I don't know. Westworld. Oh my God, Sab from YouTube. Thank you for that. Sab, whatever it is. Westworld is, it seems to be a common topic right now, even more than, they spell it wrong? Yeah. Because why? Because these are, we're getting closer to this, although actually we're not. This is why I brought Wozniak into this, right? So I'm going to say it. Steve Wozniak, Woz thinks we are too far away, to think of it. He kind of dismissed it. I don't mean to attack him or anything. I love Woz. It gets me all sad seeing him because he's just such an amazing human being. Not sad. He's just emotional. He's just such a cool guy. Black Mirror. Oh yeah. I every single one of those Black Mirrors. Black Mirror. So it looks like this is something you can, if you want to kind of explore this. This might be a fun video to I'll keep the description updated as people come up with new things. If you want to add your own contribution to material, whether to video or written material, that answers the question, what, this great question is, it's not a cliche question. It's just, commonly asked and dealt with in different ways. What is the meaning of artificial life, if there is any? And is there any meaning in organic life? Honestly, is there? And are they different? The answer to some of this stuff can get pretty dark. I mean, this is why I want to let people kind of answer this question for themselves. I will end this video by saying, I'll give you my best guess at what our existence is all about and whether that existence relates to any artificial versions of an existence. And it will make me sound crazy. There's just no doubt about it. But, you know, when you start talking about personal beliefs about things that are, scientifically unprovable, then you start to deal in areas that are shaky, because now you're into metaphysics and religion, if you want to call it that, philosophy. And I personally believe that at some level, there's something bigger going on that we don't understand. And I'm not going to call that thing God. I regularly do call it God for people who are more comfortable with that word. I'm not an atheist. So where would that put me with regard to artificial life? I happen to think that whatever is responsible for everything that's going on, or if there is anything, would apply the same criteria to artificial life as organic life. And the reason I have this is because you can actually, let's just delve into this just a little bit. This is more about defining what life is, right? And if you define life in terms of what, you can at least prove that thing that's alive, the thing that's alive, can sense. So can it feel pain? Can it feel love? Does it have emotion? Is it sentient? Is it aware of its existence? If it's aware of its existence, to me, it's alive. I mean, we're talking really aware of its existence, right? But the thing is, it's like at some point when it gets so artificial, and Zoe does a really, really good job of this, because there's now, Zoe has self-aware androids that know that they are the product of algorithms and are able to articulate everything about it, but yet they still feel. And in fact, of all of these topics, the other ones are a little bit shallow, and they're diving into the feelings and emotions of an android. The Zoe one kind of takes that right on, and I feel like Ridley Scott kind of just shot right for that. He kind of does it in a misogynistic, kind of male-driven, was it Theophiles, kind of way. But it's still, some of those poignant scenes in Zoe are when these beings that are physically indistinguishable, to the point where humans cannot tell that they're not human at all. They can't tell at all. They've gotten so good with it that they now have, there's another one. She, have you guys seen She with Joaquin Phoenix? That's the one with Joaquin Phoenix. Yeah, that was amazing. And that's just about an operating system. That's not even about something that has, corporal kind of form. But the one in Zoe, Matrix, yeah. Matrix, of course, is one of the original ones. What is real? Welcome to the real. Yeah. Oh, it's her. It's her. It is. Is it her or she? I can't remember. It's got Joaquin Phoenix in it though, and he's excellent. He's one of my favorite actors. I mean, he might be my top 5 top actors of all time. I absolutely love Joaquin Phoenix. If you haven't seen the one with him with a hammer, I really recommend it. It is her. It is her. Okay. It is her. Thank you. So, but the thing with Zoe that that kind of really personifies why I think artificial life has every right to life that we do, is in that moment when they not only are they sentient, they go beyond sentience. They go beyond sentience. They have so much natural intelligence, which is the term for intelligence where it just happens naturally. So in a way she could, right? AI actually created virtual sentience. Yeah, absolutely did. So when you're starting to talk about sentience in general, Ex Machina, oh my God, you guys are full of great examples. So Ex Machina, and this is a good science and tech topic. So again, the Zoe thing, these androids, these indistinguishable in every way, And yes, there's sex and all that stuff that normally comes with, well, if it's so real, and it gets kind of bad because, they don't spend enough time on the eyes, but they have perfect, reproductive organs and things. It's kind of lame in that regard. There's many reasons to hate the movie Zoe, but one of the reasons that I love it is because a couple of the characters that they're in it, when they, it's not a spoiler. I mean, they know they're an android. All right. Just like I know I'm human, and they still can't get over the fact that they feel emotion. They know that the emotions are programmed responses in their brain, and yet they can't stop feeling the emotions or separate their identity from those emotions. And while they're talking about it and they're struggling with it, I'm sitting there thinking, I'm thinking like, that is exactly the same experience I have. And that's why I think artificial life should at some point be considered, the same and respected the same. You're talking to but this gets really weird. This gets really weird because love, sex, and robots. Oh my God. I love that. But it's not as good. Yeah. You guys know I love sex and robots. That series is one of the best of all time. But here's where it gets really weird. Due to Meg's friendship with Sophie were hilarious. Yeah. When the dude makes friendships with Sophie. Yeah. But but here's the thing. It has to do with life. And this is where I'm really going to get in trouble. Right. So because I know that I exist, or at least I think I know I exist, or I know that I can think that I know that I exist. I think therefore I am, all that stuff. Was that Descartes or whether it's misattributed, I don't know. But was that too bad? But they stopped. Oh, right. So I don't, I don't. And then this gets really weird, and I'm going to say some things before we close this video that are going to really put me out there. So Elon Musk, there's a good clip of him on TechCrunch, I think, where they're asking him, what is this thing you think about? He says that there is more than a significant probability that we're living in a simulation. And I happen to agree with that. Whether the simulation is being run by God or whatever you personify God to be, or whether, the whole thing of like the whole scene in Matrix, which is just so classic. It's like, what is real? What is real? Is it a series of electrical impulses to your brain? Then it's whatever I can send to your brain. And that's what makes it real. Right. So any brain that can comprehend it but here's the thing. There's something going on beyond all of that we don't understand. And here's why. And this is the thing that really keeps me up at night, because it's just a ponderous thing. It's like, we actually know we exist. And there's a really great Christian apologist, was once atheist and converted to Christianity. And there's a really, really great book called about Freud and C.S. Lewis. So Freud started out an avid Christian and ended up being a staunch atheist. And C.S. Lewis started out as staunch atheist, made friends with J.R.R. Tolkien, who was always a very, very strong Christ-believing kind of person. And then he ultimately became a Christian and became one of the best Christian apologists out there. Now, I still have a lot of respect for both of them. I know I don't consider myself a Christian right now, so I'm not. I believe Christ as personified in the Bible for the most part was a good figure in human history. I'm not attacking that. I don't believe he was divine. I hope you don't come after me for that saying that. But I don't. There is something going on, and whatever it was, I think that Christ and Muhammad and many of these other spiritual figures that have been out there, including some that are not necessarily as prominent, like your local yoga instructor down the street or something. There's meaning in life. There is meaning in life. And the meaning is this existence, this intelligence that we have, this taking it to a new level. This exists, and we know it exists. Therefore, you cannot deny it. And you can say that it's just a bunch of, like impulses in your brain or something, but we know we exist. That's the nature of sentience. And as long as that's a thing, I think that's the single greatest bit of evidence that something bigger than us is happening. And if it's not, It's just too hard for us to understand, and we're just like the ants in the anthill that we look down upon, and they have no idea. They can't even comprehend what we are. They just can, they live in their own realm. They don't have the dimensional ability within their brains to even ask the question. And so either we are unable to fully perceive our own existence because of limitations of our brain, or we are able to perceive enough of our existence to ask the question, why are we here? So that we can come to terms with why we actually are here as a purpose to find meaning in life and learning and getting along, which to me is the purpose of life, not 42. The purpose of life to me is to learn to get along. And God knows I fucking fail every day at this. But the purpose of life is to learn to get along, to live in this community together, and to be better people by lifting each other up. And that doesn't mean that you don't criticize things that you find, or that you find bad, or people that you find bad that are bringing people down. That's part of it. But we have to learn to get along, and to disagree and all that stuff. I think that's the reason for that. You don't want to hear that, but you're like, you can't say whether artificial life and organic life are the same until you establish what life is. And then once you have what life is, then you have to ask, well, what's existence? What's the purpose of life? And then if you have all of those things, if you have an android that can be, that even if it can't distinguish in its own self whether its knowledge of its self-existence, its sentience, is being caused by stuff in its brain, or if there's something bigger going on, who's to say that something bigger isn't coming in and becoming a part of it? It's very, very complicated. It's very complicated. And it's supposed to be complicated because that's the nature of life. I think we're supposed to figure it out. Maybe we're not. Maybe we should just be nihilists and just say, no, it's all about nothing. You keep putting too much meaning into everything. Just enjoy the moment and live for yourself as a hedonist, which is totally fine too, if that's what you want to do. So I'm not trying to make, but these are definitely some of the shows that make us ask those questions. And I like that we're asking these questions because these are important questions to me. And because when you ask the question, you tend to change your behavior, and your behavior gets more in line with what you believe. And it's not just, reading something, a book, or writing your own personal code of conduct. It's living each day to try to do more and to be better at what you're doing, even though you're going to fail miserably, sometimes very publicly. And people do it all the time. And I have, and others have too. So you're not, that's all I have to say about that. We must endeavor to fall alone so we can succeed together. Ooh, I love that. I'm going to put that in there. Can I put that? Did you make that? I like that. We must endeavor to fall alone so we can succeed together. It's easy to say, but then you just look out around, and I'm very much a cynic. You look around and you see what's happening, and you see the injustices and the pure evil out there, and you're like, how can that be a part of life in general? But one last thing I'm going to ask you before we go. How is my dog's life any different than mine? And how is a cow's life any different than my dog's? They know they exist. They feel emotion, clearly. They're intelligent. Why is it okay for their life to be to be treated in a different way than mine? I'll give up that I personally think it's okay to kill a cow and eat it. That it's a part of the plan, that's it. But you cannot answer these questions about artificial life until you ask the question, what is my relationship to organic life on this planet? Is it okay to kill a spider? Mosquito that's sucking your blood? Hell yeah. That spider that's just sitting there all by itself that could be taken outside? Maybe not. And if you're a Sikh, you go to hell if you do that, if you kill it. So you've got to answer those questions before you can answer the question about artificial life versus organic. People haven't even worked out what life is. I mean, the center of the abortion issue, and I don't want to talk about it at all because it's such an inflammatory issue, but the center of the abortion issue is not about right to the body. It's about what is life? When does life start? And for the people that are they're anti-abortion, they're pro-life, they say life starts at conception. I happen to fully and strongly disagree with that. Because my definition of when life begins is more about when it is aware of itself, when it is sentient. And they just say, well, that's not until it's 1 year old or 2 years old. You're going to kill it until it's 2 years old. People have. I'm not saying we should. It's complicated. I happen to think that when something can sense pain is when life, to me, has begun. And that goes for anything. I mean, I don't think it should be a law that we could just kill dogs anytime we want because they feel pain. I don't think it's, we strip ferrets for their fur and shit, and we're all fine with it. So, and these are very, very problematic topics. These are all really inflammatory because they deal with something far more inflammatory than NFTs and cryptocurrency. They deal with the nature of existence, life, and human value versus the value of other things that are around us. And so you get, people on all of the extremes who have to figure this out. I tend to be a circle of life, kind of Simba kind of person where, they eat the antelope, and the antelope, that dies when their bodies die. The antelope eats the grass, and that's part of the circle of life. And that's how this simulation was set up. And that's not my fault. Cooking meat tastes good to me, and it smells good. It wouldn't if it weren't part of the plan for me to do it. But so does having sex, and I don't want to have sex with every single thing that I see that I feel like having sex with. So they have to have restraint. You can go on and on and on this particular, on all of these philosophical things. And they all boil down to what is the nature of life? What is the existence of life? And then after you've figured out what you think about that, maybe then you can start to say, well, what is artificial life? Well, if I have established that life begins when it can feel pain in the womb, for example, then pain is not when something is sentient, but life is when something artificial or otherwise senses pain. Well, what is pain to it? What is pain to it? And that would be the thing you'd have to project on it. It's like, well, if I've created artificial life and I've created it so that it can't feel pain, then it's not alive yet. As soon as it can feel pain, it's alive. So does my organic definition of life hold up? Apparently not. So you see what I mean? But you got to kind of figure out what life is before you can start getting into the meaning of artificial life. Very fun thing. Our Adam's life. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the photonic. So this is kind of an interesting thing in here, and I'm gonna close up on this one. So the question about atomic. So there has been research. Subatomic particles behave in ways that are totally unpredictable. It's actually a really great documentary about this called Particle Fever. I strongly recommend you go watch the same thing, which is ego. Nicholas suggests an interesting point from YouTube. He says that pain and sentience are part of the same thing, which is ego. So pain and sentience are a part of ego. So I have a this is a tough question, but it's more related than the atoms thing for now. When does sentience begin? You don't have to answer right now, but when does sentience for a human begin? When does sentience for a human begin? Actually, not for a human. When does sentience for a mouse begin? When does sentience for a rat in a laboratory begin? When does sentience for a mosquito begin? Is a mosquito sentient? Is a dog sentient? I mean, this is an amazingly complex question that I don't think we're ever going to get a really easy answer to, at least not for a long time. Are atoms alive? I don't know. If you look at photonic entanglement, this is something that Mr. EMC squared himself called spooky. It's really amazing. I love reading about it. Einstein. So Albert Einstein called photonic entanglement the idea that two photons in any position across the entire universe will have the same properties. And if you want to get really blown away, go read about photonic entanglement. Blow your mind. There's actually people pursuing photonic entanglement, which they can actually do now. This isn't some metaphysical thing. They actually are doing it. They're using photonic entanglement to create. There's people actively pursuing photonic entanglement to create encryption algorithms and things, and instantaneous communication across the farthest possible distances. So like that sci-fi that you saw where people are communicating with the planet from a teleporter is actually real, as long as they both have some sort of photonic entanglement built in that can pass ones and zeros in a digital way. And now you have the communication, not just across any possible distance in our known universe, but possibly across dimensions. And that is a thing. That is not made up. That's something they can actually do now. So, and it's just crazy. The communication with the satellites. Yes, that I know. That's the satellite communication. I actually talked about that before. The Picturing Quantum Processes book. That looks really cool too. So all of these things are kind of related to life because, when it comes out that life is really the question is if we're all in a simulation, fine. Well, what does the simulation have meaning or not? what is the meaning, and what is my relationship to, what is my life, organic life? Society has been deciding who can live and what's real and what's human since the beginning of time. And we have massive wars and revolutions and horrible things, internment camps and lobotomizing people. We have gone through so many things and so many different levels of just horrible atrocities by today's standards, because we have redefined what life is. We've redefined what a human life is, and we've redefined what life in general is. And we keep doing this, and our values keep it changing, whether you want to call it improving or changing. I don't know. But I feel like we're getting more of a sense of it. I think at some point, we might reach a part of our lives where we take more consideration for all life on Earth, and not just which is really hard to say, because the COVID-19, is it alive or not? COVID-19, is it alive? It's not sentient. Is it alive? Probably not. How about a cell with a mitochondria? Is that alive? If you really want to watch a great YouTube video series on this, go watch Kurzgesagt. Do you know what I'm talking about? Is it Kurzgesagt? I can't remember. Hey, somebody spell it for me. Kurzgesagt. It's a YouTube video. Yeah, I can never spell it. I think this is it. Kurzgesagt. Nope, that's not it. It's YouTube video. YouTube. And they talk about this stuff. When they start to break down what life is at the lowest level, you really start to get a sense of how complicated it is. It's like, are those pieces of cells in you? Is it Kurzgesagt? Oh, thank you very much. Is that how it's spelled here? It talks about a lot of these questions, but oh shit, I'm really swearing a lot in this one. I'm definitely not like a priest or something. Why is it doing that? Yes, that's the one. Yeah. I don't know. Don't troll me on this. All right. So Kurzgesagt. So thanks to Otto, my stepson. He's the one who, I'm going to give him full credit for this. He likes that. So he's the one who showed me this. But I tell you what, when you watch it and you start to see the society between the different people that are doing everything, did I spell it wrong? Kurzgesagt. Kurzgesagt. Well, I guess that's another way to spell it. You'll find it. It's really good. And if a cell is alive, does it have rights? No. Right? Is a cell sentient? I don't know. Probably not. Did you know plants scream while they were killed that we can't hear them? I've heard that. I have heard that. I've heard that. I did hear that, Nicholas. Yes, I've heard that before. Chris, in a nutshell. What, did I spell it wrong? You guys can't decide how to spell it. Blade Runner is definitely here. Is on the top. Thanks, one way. Yeah, I almost forgot it, and I was like, oh my god, we gotta have Blade Runner on there. Yeah. How's it going on? Didn't matter. Is it correct now? Okay, well, we got it. This is a general scientific channel that's done extremely well, but it really has you ask the question: at what point is something alive? Was it alive as a cell? Was it alive when it has 20 cells to it? When is it? Black Mirror is definitely there. And I'm reading some of the more YouTube comments here. So in a way, she could actually feel. Zoe actually could. I think Zoe could feel. Detroit became human. Yes, he did. Pain and sentience are part of the same thing, which is ego. I really want to put that in here somehow. I'm going to put that quote in here too, Nicholas. I'm going to steal that. So I'll quote you in this, but yeah, which is ego. That was a really great comment. So I'm going to put those comments in here, and you guys can further this conversation down below. This is an unusually long video for me. I make long videos, obviously, but for me, this type of like Zettelcast video. Other comments. Nicholas says again here, I would say sentience began at the beginning of time when it was like at whatever, and it's 0.00001%, and it's only at 100 when reality ends. Interesting. I really recommend the book Picturing Quantum Processes. I'm going to look at that book, film and series, and books that books that deal with this, with his. Why didn't anybody catch that? It's your fault. No. Picturing. This is, I love community streaming like this because it's so much fun for me. I mean, you can tell I'm having a blast. I also want to play Dota. You guys are more fun than Dota. It's not hard. Processes. Picturing quantum processes. Black Mirror, all of the above. But Sentience and Alive are terribly different. Yeah. Sentience and Alive are very different. So I like that too. Sentience and Alive are terribly different. And they really are, right? We have no problem killing certain things. We have absolutely certain, even human things, human lives. But you know, so whether or not you take a sentient artificial life is a different question from whether artificial life has meaning, right? Because we do it all the time. Like if you were to build up an army of sentient clones, which Battlestar Galactica comes to mind, there's lots of that. Is that okay? I don't know. It's a big question. We're not going to answer it tonight, but we do have a place to like put our favorite places to go, you know, drum up the questions in our heads and explore them. And this is fun stuff. You don't have to be some stoner to like ask the question about the meaning of life and be organic and whether it's real and artificial life and read iRobot or get into that stuff. This is really important stuff, and I hope that people do think about it. So I'm going to end this particular video here. In addition to that, I'm going to